Hi, lovely people. Welcome to Basics in Fashion 101, as I had already introduced. Through basic sewing supplies, basic sewing tools needing in starting out your fashion training or your career as a fashion designer. So I have a list of or a selection of basic tailoring tools here. I will just go through them quickly, tell you their names and their uses. So first up, one of the most common tools used by fashion designers is the scissors. Yes, of course, whatever types of cutting you need to do, cutting of patterns, fabrics, threads, the scissors always comes in handy. Next, you will need thread. Yes, all the stitches would require thread. For measuring, a basic tape would also be required. Its calibration of course should be in inches and centimeters, which is the most common units of measurements used by fashion designers. Then we have what is popularly known as a ripper. Patterns either on paper or fabric. Tailor's chalk always comes in handy in order to draft the silhouette for the style. We also have a shuttle and bobbin, or what we call a bobbin and bobbin case, or a shuttle and reeler. We also have our hand needles. Yes, the invention of sewing machines does not take away the use of our needle stitches, our hand needle stitches. They also come in handy in certain stages of our sewing, especially when it comes to finishing. Then we have our machine needles. They come in their various sizes. As we go on, when we begin to work on our stitches, machine stitches, we'll explain a little more details about this. We have what we call an eyelet maker. For your corsets, you will need to have an eyelet maker to be able to punch holes in your fabric and fix eyelets to them. We have what we call a shearing scissors. You can see it has a zigzag teeth. It helps to prevent fraying. So in a situation where you need to work on fabric that frays very quickly, your shearing scissors comes in very handy. In a situation where you don't have an overlocking machine, you can use the shearing scissors to neaten the interior of your clothing while you look forward to a time when you can overlock it, but this will hold the fabric in place without it fraying. We also have our pins. These also come in handy to steady two pieces of fabrics together before we run them on the machine to give a permanent stitch. We have our various rulers and curves. In a separate video, we'll go through our various types of rulers and curves, but for starters, here is a straight ruler and here is a hip curve. I think that's about all the basic sewing tools you ought to have handy. Need I forget? Pattern paper always comes in handy. Even though you can draft directly on your fabric, certain times when you need to figure out certain styles and pretty much get it together so you don't get to ruin the fabric. Very technical styles also you can get to figure out first on paper, pin them together, if possible even stitch them together to see how the overall look will come out before you begin to work on the fabric directly. You could also do this with calico fabric. It also comes in handy. So these are the basic sewing supplies you require as a fashion designer just starting out or just learning fashion designing. It's good to have these tools and equipment handy. Next, I will be showing you our various types of sewing machines. I mentioned that we'll be going through 3 types of sewing machines. One is our electric sewing machine, second is our manual sewing machine, and third is our industrial sewing machine. So since our manual sewing machine is the most familiar one, most regular one, most fashion designers use, I'll be telling the names of these parts of the machine on that particular machine, and we try to identify them on the other 2 types that I mentioned.